What's up, everybody? It's your boy JP, back again with another video. And today I have the Xiaomi Mi 11 Lite. Now, this is the 4G model, not the 5G. Of course, 5G would actually be part of the title, obviously, because they do call that one the Mi 11 Lite 5G. Whereas the 4G, they just call just the Mi 11 Lite. This has the Snapdragon 732G chipset, the Adreno 618. This model here has 6 gigs of RAM and 128 gigs of internal storage. But you can also get it with 8 gigs of RAM. This does have expandable memory. It has a absolute gorgeous 90 hertz refresh, 6.55 inch, 10-bit AMOLED panel. And that basically means it can display 10 billion colors. That's what they mean by the 10-bit aspect. It does have your hole punch design, but it's off in the upper left-hand corner instead of the center. It's not ultra small like a lot of Xiaomi phones have been coming out with lately. But it's also not as big as the one found in the Pogo X3 Pro. And depending on when you see this video, that one may or may not be uploaded, before after this one right here. Because I do kind of touch on that punch hole there, on that phone. Other than the size of the punch hole and its location, it is, for the most part, it follows the design language that almost every Xiaomi phone released this year has followed, except the Pogo X3 Pro. I call it the Mi 11 design language because the Mi 11 that came out at the very end of last December was the phone that featured this design language, and of course you can see it more so when I flip it over to the back. This has a 64 megapixel rear main shooter. It also has a macro and an ultra wide. The front-facing camera is a 16 megapixel. This has a gorgeous matte finish, and it doesn't feel or even sound like plastic. I don't know the exact. Actually, as a matter of fact, I do actually. If I'm not mistaken, it just kind of hit me as I was going on, but this is actually Xiaomi hasn't the front. Sorry for the stuttering. Is covered in Gorilla Glass 5. The back, to my knowledge, is glass. Xiaomi hasn't said that it's Gorilla Glass like the front, but they have gone on record to say that it is a shatterproof material. Not scratch resistant, but shatterproof material. So, and that does sound pretty good. That doesn't even, that sounds just as good, if not better, than Gorilla Glass. But it has a very nice matte finish. If you watch my video to the Galaxy A52 4G as well as the Pogo X3 Pro, I talk about how they have plastic builds but have a matte finish, and it's a very nice matte finish. You can tell it's plastic, but for plastic, it's a very premium feeling matte finish. This matte finish on this phone takes that to the next level. I mean, this matte finish is even better than that of the Galaxy S21 and the Galaxy Note 20. Because those are, plastic with matte finishes. This is glass with matte finish, and it feels ultra premium. Now, one of this phone's shining features that just simply adds to the premium awe of this phone is how thin it is. This phone is ultra thin. Ultra thin. There's your Type-C port and your SIM tray. It also again has it also again has a room for micro SD card. There's your volume rocker and your fingerprint sensor, your side-mounted fingerprint sensor, which I'll talk about here in a second here. But very premium phone. The sides I think are plastic from what I read. Yeah, well, they're obviously not aluminum because they don't have the antenna bands through them, and it's definitely not glass. So yeah. The side is plastic, but they have that real nice metallic finish to them, so they do look premium, and it doesn't feel cheap whatsoever, even if you just hold it from the sides. But there's that Mi 11 design language there with the camera setup again. But this phone is really nice, really nice. Um, the Mi and before you wonder if this phone is less premium than the Mi 11 Lite 5G, it's not. Physically, they are virtually the same phone. You are not going to get any more of a premium feel on the 5G variant as what you're going to get here with the 4G variant. This phone retails for, for about $350. And it's probably a lot less than that because that's actually just that's what I actually paid to get it early from a U.S. seller. But I mean, by the time you see this video, it might be, I'm sure it'll be less than that. But and that was also with next day delivery. That was with overnight shipping as well. And I got it on a Saturday at that. So yeah, it's going to be a lot less than that because I know most people don't necessarily need it overnighted. But it does have a 33-watt fast charge, which is included in the box here with your USB Type-C cable, your clear gel skin case, your clear TPU, your bookless there, SIM ejector, tool right there, your box, Mi 11 Lite, very nice box. I mean, it's like any other Xiaomi box, but the 11 is kind of like holographic there, which I really like. And man, yeah, the sleeve says featherweight design, and yeah, it's super featherweight. The camera on this is definitely better than the Pogo X3 Pro, not just because of the resolution, but just in general. This is it took a while this time around for Xiaomi to release the Lite variant of the Mi 11, and of course this time around they came out with two Lite variants, a 4G and a 5G. And it was definitely worth the wait for you budget conscious people that that like that Mi 11 design, like that Mi 11 aesthetic. You're big Xiaomi fans. And you were waiting on this. It was definitely worth the wait. Of course, the Mi 11 Lite 5G would actually be the true successor to the Mi 10 Lite. Because last year they only had one Mi 10 Lite, and it was a 5G variant. Which had the Snapdragon 7 the Snapdragon 765G, and the 5G did work in the US. And Xiaomi didn't just come out with a model rocking the Snapdragon 750G. They waited for Qualcomm to come out with the true successor to the 765, which was the 780G. And just as the Pogo X3 Pro was the first with the Snapdragon 860, the Mi 11 was the first with the Snapdragon 888. The Pogo, or I already said the Pogo, but the Mi 11 Lite 5G is the first with the 780G processor. But of course, we'll say that for another video if I get the 5G variant. This is all about the 4G variant. This is basically for the people who either don't live in areas with 5G, so they don't want to get forced to pay that premium for something they're not going to be able to use. Or someone that doesn't really care about future-proofing. Again, as I said in the Poco X3 Pro video, LTE on is equally as fast on this phone as it was on that phone when I did the video to that. And I talked about why the 860 existed. 4G, LTE speeds are not going to be outdated, so to speak, anytime soon. I mean, obviously there's a successor. 5 years from now, we're all going to be rocking 5G. But, but even 5 years from now, browsing speeds will be, LTE will be more than adequate, to handle. Um, and this is just for the people that don't really care about that premium, to pay for 5G. They still want a premium phone. They're big Xiaomi fans. They're on a budget. The Mi 11 Lite 4G is perfect, perfect. The Snapdragon 732G chipset, as you saw in my video or as you heard me talk about in my video to the Redmi Note 10 Pro, is it handles gaming just fine, just fine. Most games on the highest settings. Other games you may have to tone them down a little bit, but at least they're playable, and they're more than playable. And that's going to be the case a year or two from now. The Snapdragon, 732G is still going to be, it's still going to be able to play those games and then some, in the next year or two. Newer games as they come out. If something better than Genshin Impact comes out, like a Genshin Impact Part 2 or something, you have to tone it down, obviously. But with 6 gigs of RAM, available 8 gigs, this phone, is, more than gets the job done. It's a fantastic phone. I haven't even had it that long, and I have been super impressed with this phone. I have enjoyed this phone more than the Poco X3 Pro just because of the screen quality. The screen on this phone is absolutely gorgeous. I've been rocking the crap out of it. And I haven't even had it for that long, but it has been fantastic. The only design cue that it doesn't take from the other Mi 11 designed phones, and there's a reason why, is the fingerprint sensor. Obviously, it's side mounted, as a lot of Xiaomi phones have been this year. It's not an arc fingerprint sensor, though. You can feel it, but it's not a dimple. Some that I didn't touch on with the Poco X3 Pro, which obviously uses a design from last year in the X3 NFC. Its side-mounted fingerprint sensor is like most phones, where it's a dimple. And it just doesn't match the rest of the design of the phone. None of them do. Except the Mi 11 phones that have been rocking it on the side, not in the display like the Mi 11 and Mi 11 Ultra, but all of the other Mi 11 design phones that have that arc side-mounted fingerprint sensor, that has, to me, been the best designed side-mounted fingerprint sensor. I already love side-mounted fingerprint sensors. They're my favorite if it's not going to be in the display. And that arc really kind of solidified it more so for me, because you could still feel it, you still knew it was there, but it flowed with the design of the phone, hence the arc. And that's what I didn't touch on in my video to the Poco X3 Pro. I forgot to, was that the fingerprint sensor is just a dimple like phones have been having for the past couple of years when they're made on the side like that. Whereas Xiaomi, for the most part, besides that phone and now this phone, it's they're made into that arc to kind of follow the rest of the design language. This phone and I imagine also the Mi 11 Lite 5G, the fingerprint sensor, it's not an eyesore. It's not an eyesore dimple. It's just not an arc that matches, where it matches the rest of the design of the phone. But that's because of how thin this freaking phone is. And this video does it no justice whatsoever. When I tell y'all this is the thinnest phone out right now, featherweight at that, this video does it no justice. If I was reviewing the Mi 11 Lite 5G right now instead of the 4G model, because it has so freaking many flagship qualities to it, the fact that the Snapdragon 780G consistently benchmarks better than even the newly released Snapdragon 860 found in the Poco X3 Pro, I would go as far to say that is the thinnest flagship-like device out. Of course, I can't say that here because the 4G model, it doesn't have a processor that's necessarily close to flagship. But it's definitely on the more premium side though. The 732G is definitely no slouch. It's definitely probably the best non 5G Qualcomm processor, behind the Snapdragon 860, which was just released. And I know what y'all are going to say. Oh, well, what about the non 5G Snapdragon 855 plus phones and standard 855 phones? Those have been out for a couple years now, and those are better than the Snapdragon 732G. Yes, you're absolutely right. But I mean, as far as where the processor stands, where its place is at. Also the fact that it's you know, it's you know, I'm not trying to back myself up into a corner, but I'm talking about as far as the processor placement goes. The 732G is a processor that was just made just over a year ago. It's still finding its way into phones. It's obviously cheaper, to put in bulk. So I mean, I realize that as well. But it's the processor of choice besides the 860 if manufacturers are trying to make a non 5G phone. Yes, there's a 720G that's found in the Galaxy A52 and A72. But I mean, the 720G to me is just a version of the 732G that's just, purposely made slower, but has slightly newer cores, etc. And I actually went over that in my video too, the Galaxy A52 that I just dropped yesterday. But the point is, this phone is, for what it is blazing. It gets the job done. I haven't honestly noticed any hiccups in it whatsoever. The camera on this is far better than the Poco X3 Pro. The screen is man, it's outright gorgeous. The 90 hertz, the 10-bit AMOLED, man, it's definitely flagship quality. It is 1080p, full HD plus, obviously. It does have a battery on the smaller side. The battery is only like a 4200 milliamp. It's not exactly 4200, but it's 4250. It's 4250 milliamps, but it'll still get you through the day. The fast charge, it'll fully charge this phone within an hour. Obviously a phone this featherweight, this thin is not going to have a big battery. It still maintains a huge screen, for the price point for what it is. It's a 6.55 inch. I'll round that up and say 6.6 inches. Is just a little shy of Xiaomi's standard 6.67 inch, or as I like to call 6.7 inch screens. It's not much smaller. But yeah, man, I hope y'all enjoyed this video here. And y'all hit me up in the comments. And I will I will see y'all in the next one. Peace out.